Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to jump into another deep dive with me today?
Always.
All right, so we're going to unpack a story about, well, Keanu Reeves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves, and this wild experience he had at a luxury car dealership.
Okay.
Um, that sparked a global movement, believe it or not.
Interesting.
And our source today is uh, this online story. It kind of reads like a movie, honestly.
Really?
It's
Wow.
pretty wild.
I'm
So
intrigued.
yeah. Okay, so it all starts with Keanu just being Keanu, right? Like super down to earth,
Right.
just, doing his thing in LA,
Yeah.
getting coffee, chatting with fans, the whole bit.
Yeah.
And then he decides he wants to find this very specific car,
Okay.
like a rare one.
Yeah.
Maybe for charity, we're not totally sure on that part, but
Interesting.
that's when things take a turn.
I see.
Yeah. So this story really highlights this contrast between Keanu, who's dressed, casually like he always is, and the atmosphere of this like super high-end dealership.
I can imagine.
All gleaming surfaces and like the smell of expensive leather. It just screams exclusive.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And Keanu kind of just, at least at first, blends into the background. He asks about the car, and the salesman just like barely even acknowledges him, just mumbles something about finding someone else.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Like, talk about awkward.
Yeah, that's rough. So how does it escalate from there?
Well, that's when the manager enters the scene, Richard.
Okay.
And Richard is, well, let's just say he really embodies this whole judgmental vibe.
Gotcha.
Like the way he talks about the car being exclusive,
Yeah.
not for just anyone.
Right.
It's all about status and, how much money you have. And he instantly assumes that Keanu doesn't fit the bill.
That's interesting. It makes you wonder if that kind of attitude is more common in those circles than we realize.
Right. And like the source really emphasizes this air of superiority that Richard has. The way he emphasizes that he caters to a certain clientele. It's so elitist.
Yeah, it definitely creates a power dynamic.
And then he just keeps pushing, right?
Yeah.
He makes all these comments about what Keanu's wearing, even implying that he can't afford the car.
Wow, really?
Yeah, you can practically hear the judgment dripping from his words.
So how does Keanu react to all of this?
That's the thing. He stays so calm.
Interesting.
But firm, too. Like, he challenges Richard's assumptions, but in this really cool, collected way.
Good for him.
Yeah. And he actually says this line that's, like, so brilliant in its simplicity. He's like, funny how you seem to know so much about people just by what they're wearing. That says more about you than it does about me.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. I mean, it totally exposes how shallow Richard's whole worldview is.
Yeah, it's a really insightful observation.
Makes you think about those times when someone's underestimated you based on how you look,
Definitely.
It's a feeling that it can stick with you.
It can, for sure. But sadly, Richard doesn't take the hint, does he?
No, not at all.
What happens next?
Well, he basically dismisses Keanu as, like, just another dreamer who can't afford his fancy cars.
Oh, geez.
You can practically feel the contempt.
So the tension is really building at this point.
It is. And then this one little act of defiance, it just sets off this chain reaction that no one could have predicted.
Oh, really? What happens?
Richard loses it. Completely loses control.
No way.
Yep. Like the source describes it as this shocking display of aggression. He gets right up in Keanu's face, starts shouting, and then raises his fist like he's going to hit him.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
I know, right? It's crazy. It just shows how quickly some people resort to intimidation when they feel threatened.
Yeah, that's true.
And what's really surprising is how Keanu reacts.
What does he do?
He catches Richard's fist.
What?
Yeah, like intercepts it before it can connect.
Right.
But it's not an aggressive move.
All right.
It's more like he's just taking control of the situation.
That's pretty amazing.
I know, right? And then he says this line. It's just like profound.
What does he say?
He tells Richard, the anger you're feeling has nothing to do with me. Maybe it's time to look inward and deal with that before you take it out on others.
Wow.
I know, right?
That's quite a statement.
It is. He's calling Richard out, but also like offering him a way forward,
Yeah, it's very insightful.
Yeah, like encouraging him to reflect and take responsibility for his actions. It's the kind of wisdom you'd expect from Keanu.
Definitely. It seems like he has a deep understanding of human nature.
Totally. But, as if this whole encounter wasn't crazy enough already.
It gets even crazier.
It does. It turns out that someone was recording the entire thing.
What?
Yeah, some young guy at the dealership, he just happened to be filming the whole thing on his phone.
No way.
And, well, that's where things go from private to very, very public.
Oh, I
The
bet.
video gets uploaded and, it goes viral.
Of course it does. The internet loves a good drama.
Right. And that's where we'll pick things up in part 2 of our deep dive.
So, yeah, the video goes viral.
It spread like wildfire, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone's talking about it.
It's everywhere. And, the impact is immediate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The dealership gets slammed with negative reviews. People are calling for boycotts.
Oh.
It's pretty intense. And some employees actually even start talking to the media, anonymously, of course.
Really?
Saying that, Richard's behavior, it wasn't a one-time thing.
Jeez.
It's, it's a mess.
Now talk about the court of public opinion in action, right?
Exactly.
Like, this really shows how one little video can completely change everything.
It really highlights the power of accountability in this digital age.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But what's Keanu doing during all this?
Well, that's the interesting part.
Yeah.
He's completely silent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Doesn't engage in the online stuff at all.
It's like his silence is saying more than any statement could.
It really is.
But he doesn't just, disappear, right?
Right.
This is where he takes this whole negative thing and turns it into something amazing.
Yeah, this is where the story really takes a turn.
Okay, so what does he do?
He decides to go back to the dealership.
Wait, he goes back
Look, he
to
does.
the same dealership
Yeah.
after everything that happened. I'm like, on the edge of my seat here, what happens?
So you can imagine the tension, right?
Oh, yeah,
When he walks in,
definitely.
the employees, they freeze Richard. He's super nervous. It's palpable.
I bet. So does he, launch into this big speech about respect?
Not quite.
Oh.
Richard actually tries to apologize.
Really?
Yeah, even offers to show Keanu the car.
Hmm.
But it's so clear that it's just damage control,
Totally. He's just trying to save face.
Exactly.
So what does Keanu say?
He says, and this is, I think, the heart of the matter, he says, respect shouldn't be something you bargain with, something you reserve only for those you deem worthy. It's fundamental. Either you have it or you don't.
Damn.
Yeah. It's powerful.
He's saying that respect is a given, not something you earn based on, how much money you have or what you look like.
It really challenges those societal norms we have.
Totally. It makes you think about, how often we assign value to people based on such superficial things.
Absolutely. And Keanu doesn't stop there.
He doesn't.
Nope. He refuses to buy the car from them.
Get out of here. What does he say?
He says, true luxury isn't an exclusive car or a price tag. True luxury is treating others with dignity.
Mic drop. It's like redefining what luxury even means.
He's saying that true wealth is about character and how we treat each other.
It's really something.
It is. And then he walks out.
Just like that?
Just like that, leaving them to deal with, all the consequences.
It's like this powerful image, right? Him walking away with his integrity in the dealership. Well, they're left to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, it's pretty symbolic.
But he still wants the car, right?
Right.
So what does he do?
He finds the same car, but at this smaller, more humble dealership. One where the owner clearly treats everyone with respect,
Typical Keanu, right?
Yeah.
He's making a statement with his wallet.
Exactly.
It shows how, even small choices can reflect our values.
Absolutely. But this isn't just about one guy buying a car, right?
No.
The impact of this whole thing, it goes way beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That viral video, it's still circulating,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's inspiring this whole movement.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Hashtags like, hashtag respect is luxury.
Hey.
Hashtag learn from Keanu. They start trending. Celebrities, activists, even brands, they're all joining the conversation.
It's amazing how his actions just, sparked this wave of dialogue about respect and equality and inclusion.
It shows the power of one person to make a difference,
Totally.
Yeah.
But the original dealership, what happens to them?
They face a ton of backlash, of course. Richard ends up getting fired.
Not surprising.
And their reputation is, well, pretty much ruined.
It's a reminder that, actions have consequences.
Especially online.
Yeah. But the most inspiring part is what Keanu does with the car he eventually buys.
Oh, yeah, that's a great part of the story.
What does he do?
He takes this car, right, the symbol of, exclusion, and he turns it into a symbol of positive change.
How does he do that?
He has it meticulously restored, perfectly,
Okay.
and then auctions it off for charity.
No way.
Yeah, and raises millions of dollars for organizations promoting equality and inclusion.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
He could have just moved on, but he used this negative experience to actually make a difference.
It's incredible, right? And at the auction, he gives this speech and he says, This car was just an object until this story unfolded. Now it carries something far more valuable. The lesson that we all have the power to inspire change as long as we're guided by respect.
That's really powerful.
It is. It emphasizes that even when things are tough, we have the choice to respond with grace and purpose.
Totally. So throughout this whole ordeal, how does Keanu act?
He's remarkably humble.
That's what's so great about him.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be in the spotlight,
It's not about him, it's about the message.
which makes it even more impactful, you know?
He embodies this idea of leading by example.
It's refreshing to see.
It is. So beyond Keanu, what can we learn from this whole story?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what are the broader insights here?
I think it shows how much power individuals have to spark change on a larger scale.
Interesting. How so?
Well, like Keanu's decision to stand up against disrespect,
Right.
to use his platform to advocate for good, it created a ripple effect, you know?
Mhm.
It went way beyond just that one encounter.
It's like he gave everyone permission to speak up, to demand better,
Exactly.
to fight for a world where respect is just, like, expected.
Yeah. It's a great message. But what about for us, you know?
Right. Like, what about for the listeners who aren't global superstars?
Exactly. How can we apply these lessons to our own lives?
That's a great question. And it's one that we'll dive into in part 3 of our deep dive. It's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what can I do to actually change things? This whole Keanu story is inspiring, sure. But he's, Keanu Reeves.
Right. He has a certain platform that
Indeed.
most of us don't have.
So what can we do?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's where the real takeaway is.
Okay.
It's not about copying Keanu exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the principles behind what he did, you know?
So less about being Keanu and more about, like, channeling our inner Keanu.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And actually, the sources even point out that Keanu has said he doesn't want to be put on a pedestal. Like, he doesn't want to be some kind of hero figure.
Which, is pretty humble.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
everyone's out there praising him for being so awesome.
All right. But he keeps bringing it back to the message.
Not the messenger.
Yeah.
And that message is really about respect, right?
It always comes back to respect.
Recognizing that everyone has value no matter what.
Exactly. Not just the people who fit a certain image.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this applies to, us regular folks.
Good.
It's not about waiting for some big opportunity to be a hero.
Right.
It's about making choices every day that line up with that value of respect.
Exactly. Like, think about the small things.
Okay.
It could be as simple as calling out a joke that's, prejudiced.
Yeah.
Or supporting businesses that, have ethical practices.
Or even just, like, checking ourselves when we're about to judge someone based on how they look.
Oh, that's a big one.
Right. Like, we do that all the time without even realizing it.
It's true. We all have biases.
Yeah. So this story is kind of like a mirror, right? It makes
that
us
one.
look at those biases and how they affect how we treat other people.
Absolutely.
So if we had to boil this whole deep dive down into, like, some key takeaways, what would you say are the most important things for listeners to remember?
Well, first, I'd say remember that respect is the foundation.
Not a reward,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about knowing that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity,
no matter who they are.
no matter their background, how much money they have, what they look like.
Perfect. What else?
Second, don't underestimate how much impact your actions can have.
Even the small ones.
Even the small ones. It's like a ripple effect, right?
Yep.
Whether it's standing up to injustice or just choosing to be kind in a tough moment or even just thinking about your own biases, we all have the power to make a difference.
Okay, so that's 2. What's the third one?
Third, never underestimate the power of leading by example.
Like Keanu.
Like Keanu. He didn't need to make these big speeches or anything.
He just lived his values.
Exactly. And look what happened.
It's inspiring, really.
It is, because it shows that being genuine, having integrity,
It's more powerful than, any fancy PR campaign.
it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Love it. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this thought. What if we all tried to bring a little bit of that Keanu energy into the world? What if we all made respect a priority in everything we do? Something to think about, isn't it?
It is. Really is.
All right, well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.